This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Like a whale spewing out a pillar of ocean, the water strike broke through the wheel of wind and fire and shot toward Yunxiao like an erupting volcano. Yunxiao was taken aback. The aura that burst out of Guangyi's body was actually somewhat similar to that of Ren Xiang, and he was also a genius with an extremely pure bloodline. He had seen royal descendants of the sea race with such a bloodline in the East Sea, but they were extremely rare. He had only met 2 royal descendants of the sea race, and they were both geniuses? Was he just too lucky, or had the 4 seas changed after several decades? He did not have time to think about it. The water column was too powerful, but its speed slowed down after it broke the firestorm wheels, so Yunxiao dodged it in the air. These few short moves were enough, and the summoned Teeth Whale clansman was already being recalled under Guangyi's protection. The surface of the sea also began to rise slowly, and the back of a giant whale was revealed. The platform that Guangyi was on earlier was the pillar of water that it had shot out. The back was actually engraved with a dense array that dazzled the eyes. Next, the Teeth Whale clan's warriors also flew up into the air, guarding Guangyi's side. Although they had suffered varying degrees of injuries, it was their duty and mission to protect the royal clan with their lives. The few soldiers responsible for recalling them had already finished working together, and a dark passage was slowly opening up. Yunxiao's face turned cold as he said, "Guangyi, stop summoning immediately, or I'll kill you." Guangyi didn't know why, but he felt a chill in his heart when he heard that. However, how could he stop because of that? He said coldly, "If you want to stop, it's simple. Hand over the rainbow stone." "Give me 3 months to think about it," Yunxiao said thoughtfully. "I'll give you an answer after that." 3 months to consider? In your dreams. No. Guangyi refused and said coldly, "Since we can't talk, then I'll take it myself." A terrifying aura gradually came out of the passage that was gradually opening. It carried the smell of barbarism and blood. It seemed that the so-called totem had begun to move. The killing intent in Yunxiao's eyes gradually gathered as he said in a cold voice, "If that's the case, then you're asking for it." He beckoned in the air, and 9 northern heaven's cold star swords flew out, forming a sword diagram in the air. It spun continuously like dark clouds, and sword chi seeped out from it. Sword cloud rain. Yunxiao pointed a finger in the air and shouted. Sword cloud rain. The cloud of swords shot out 10,000 beams of strong light, and a terrifying rain of swords came down, splitting the sky and earth. All the members of the Sea tribe were shocked. Not only did the rain of swords cover a wide area, but it was also extremely powerful. Each sword contained the attacks of martial honorables from all directions. It was as if countless martial honorables attacked at the same time. Arg. A. The minions of the sea race all came out and screamed. All of them under the 8 Desolates realm were killed. Even the injured Teeth Whale clansmen couldn't resist it, and their injuries worsened. In order to avoid too many injuries, Yunxiao tried to control the range of the sword rain with the summoning array as the center. The tens of thousands of shrimp soldiers and generals of the heavenly wild shrimp tribe had long been scared into hiding in the distance in the previous battle, so the casualties were minimal. "Li Yunxiao, how dare you kill my soldiers? You deserve to die." Guangyi was furious. Together with a few powerful Teeth Whale clansmen, they rose from the sky and surrounded Yunxiao. "What a joke." Yunxiao sneered. "If the negotiation fails, isn't it just killing?" He changed his hand gesture, and the sword cloud instantly disintegrated. The 9 northern heaven cold star swords flew back to him and formed a sword diagram. The sea of sword chi suddenly spread out, and light shot out and shone down. Sword picture, embracing the moon in the 9 heavens. As he shouted, a huge sword-shaped sword formed in the sky and slashed down. The space was torn apart like a zipper, and the charging Teeth Whale clan warriors were all blasted apart by the sword-shaped sword, turning into a pile of flesh and blood that dissipated in the air. Guangyi's heart was filled with shock. Under the sword-shaped aura, he could not help but tremble slightly. If he had not just condensed his bloodline, he would not have been able to withstand the sword chi. The commander of the Teeth Whale clan suddenly exploded with a tremendous amount of energy as he roared, "Don't hurt Lord Guangyi." He didn't know any other martial skills. It was still the boundless sea, but it seemed to have used up all his strength. A strange image appeared behind him. The palm power rushed up with the shocking seawater and blocked in front of Guangyi. Bang bang bang. The chi of the 9 transformed swords shook the boundless sea of palm energy until it became chaotic and the palm energy exploded. Pfft. The commander of the Teeth Whale clan finally spat out a mouthful of blood from the backlash. He was no longer able to block that sword, and he refused to retreat in his despair. In the end, he was crushed into pieces by the sword chi, leaving nothing behind. Under the defense of the human wall, Guangyi managed to buy a lot of time. The trident emitted rays of light, condensing into a colorful shadow. Like a rainbow piercing through the sun, it struck out with a bang on the sword-shaped strike. Boom. The 9 swords of form was broken, but Guangyi himself wasn't in a good state either. He was sent flying. At this moment, the horror in his heart had reached its peak, and his face turned pale with fear. He quickly retreated to the back of the whale and began to cast incantations into the complicated array around it. His eyes were filled with hatred as he stared at Yunxiao and said through gritted teeth, "Damn it. You really dare to kill my soldiers of the sea? This enmity won't rest until one of us is dead." Yunxiao retracted his 9 swords and said coldly, "If the negotiations break down, doesn't that mean we'll start killing? The deaths of these people should be counted on your head." Yunxiao opened the heavenly eye between his brows, and the divine realm tablet flew out. He cast a few incantation seals into it, and the land immediately expanded. An infinite gravity took shape at that moment, and the entire space was deformed by the huge gravity, collapsing toward the divine realm tablet. At that moment, the divine realm tablet turned into a mountain and suddenly fell down. The sky was pulled down like a white cloth and fell on the back of the giant whale. The giant whale of the sea tribe was like a human battleship. It was extremely powerful, and once it was used, its power was unstoppable. Its weakness was that it was too big, and it was hard to get rid of its tail. Therefore, Yunxiao threw out the nemesis of his warship. The infinite gravity on the divine realm tablet fell, and before it even touched the whale, the distorted space began to press it down into the sea. Guangyi's mouth was wide open, his eyes almost popping out. He didn't know how heavy the whale was, but to be able to force it to sink down was simply unbelievable and impossible. However, this impossible thing was right in front of him. After a moment of shock, he did not bother to activate the formation on the back of the giant whale. He directly turned into a ray of light and escaped. Based on what he saw so far, if he was touched by the divine realm tablet, he would probably be turned into a meat paste. Boom boom boom. The divine realm tablet finally landed on the back of the giant whale, crushing it so hard that it let out a muffled cry. Its huge body pushed away the seawater and sank down. Huge waves surged on the surface of the sea, and strange phenomena appeared one after another. In the distance, the people on the city wall of Haitian town were also frightened. They all thought that it was fortunate that his martial foundation had been destroyed. Otherwise, if he was allowed to develop, he would really be the world's #1 in the future. Just as the waves were rolling and the world was changing, a terrifying aura came from the sea, accompanied by Guangyi's wild laughter. "Come out, Meng Tian has come out. Li Yunxiao, let's see how you're going to stir up trouble now." In the dark space tunnel, the terrifying aura was getting stronger and stronger. A pair of red eyes bigger than lanterns flickered with a bloody light, and the huge head had already crossed the tunnel. The few Teeth Whale clan experts in charge of summoning all began to tremble, and their foreheads were already drenched in sweat. However, their eyes were filled with joy. This Meng Tian was the totem of the Teeth Whale clan. With only her head exposed, the aura had locked onto Yunxiao. Yunxiao felt as if there was a dagger on his back. He had seen this Meng Tian before, but he did not know that it was the totem of the Teeth Whale clan. His eyes instantly turned into blood moons, and strange patterns formed in his eyes. A strange spiritual force attacked Mang Tian. Mang Tian's eyes, which were as red as giant lanterns, suddenly focused, reflecting the array pattern in Yunxiao's eyes. Her body, which was still hidden in the passage, suddenly trembled and stopped moving forward. The bloody aura in her eyes began to slowly dissipate. The Manghong beast is an ancient ocean race, and the Teeth Whale clan is its descendant. Its strength is comparable to a high-ranked martial sovereign. If you dare to kill a warrior of the ocean race, you will become its food. Guang Yi was still laughing, his face smug as he looked coldly at the figure moving up and down in the waves. What's going on? What's wrong with Lord Mang Tian? Suddenly, one of the Teeth Whale clansmen felt that something was wrong and asked in shock. The other person's expression also changed slightly, and he said in surprise, "I don't know." "Why did you stop?" The third person's originally pale face turned even paler, and his body could not take it anymore. He said anxiously, "I can't hold on much longer." Guang Yi also seemed to notice something was wrong and hurriedly turned around to ask, "What's going on? What happened?" "Lord Guang Yi, there seems to be something wrong with Lord Mang Tian. He's not moving in the air tunnel," a Tooth Whale clansman said anxiously. Guang Yi's heart jolted and he hurriedly went forward to check. He saw that Mang Tian's body was stirring, but the wild and violent aura on her body had already disappeared. The situation didn't seem right. And at this moment, something that made them completely dumbfounded happened. After a moment of irritation, Mang Tian actually began to slowly retreat back into the passageway, and finally disappeared before everyone's eyes. As the few of them could not hold on, the passageway finally closed. Pft. Pft. The Teeth Whale clansmen were all exhausted, and the reality in front of them had struck them hard, causing them to vomit blood. Guang Yi was also completely stunned. His entire person was stunned. Yunxiao closed his eyes, and his forehead was covered in sweat. The ocular technique consumed too much of his mental power, making him a little dizzy. It took him a long time to come back to his senses. Fortunately, everyone was completely dumbfounded. The entire sea suddenly became calm, and there were no disputes. After a long while, Yunxiao took the lead and said, "Brother Guang Yi, are you done? Are we still going to continue this fight?" Guang Yi's body trembled and he gritted his teeth, "You killed many of my soldiers of the sea. I won't let you go." Yunxiao's face turned cold. He pointed his finger, and 9 northern heaven cold star swords appeared in front of him, exuding the aura of an artifact as they pressed forward. The killing intent penetrated straight to the bone. Guang Yi said in shock, "Wait. As long as you hand over the rainbow stone, we can forget about everything that happened." As soon as he said that, the 9 northern heaven cold star swords formed a sword diagram under Yunxiao's control, slowly taking the shape of a sword. This time, Guang Yi was truly flustered. That rainbow stone was exceptionally important. If he could, he didn't want it in this situation. Staying alive was more important, but he really couldn't lose the rainbow stone. He hurriedly said, "Do you want to have 3 more months to consider?" Only then did the sword diagram's power stop. It disassembled into 9 long swords and was put back into Yunxiao's body. "Aren't you being cheap?" Guang Yi's face turned green, but he didn't dare to speak. All the members of the Sea tribe felt as if they had been greatly humiliated. They wanted to rush up and die together. "You're not allowed to stir up any trouble for 3 months, Yunxiao said. "Also, how much do you know about this rainbow stone? Tell me everything." Guang Yi's expression changed drastically, but under the other's cold gaze, he still gave in. He endured the humiliation and said, "This rainbow stone is the treasure of the Dragon Palace. I'm not too sure about the reason, but I know that father values it very much." Sensing Yunxiao's discontented look and coldness, Guang Yi braced himself and said, "There was a great change in the East Ocean Dragon Palace, and the entire royal family migrated. It seems to be related to this rainbow stone. I don't know anything else, even if you kill me I won't know." Yunxiao's heart jolted, and he knew that it would be difficult to get any more information from her. "Hand it over or not, I'll give you an answer in 3 months. You can wait for my news." After saying that, a ray of light flew out from the bottom of the sea. It was the Divine Realm tablet, which had already pressed the huge whale to an unknown depth. After putting away the Divine Realm tablet, Yunxiao rode the wind and broke the waves, leaving behind Guang Yi, who had a gloomy and resentful face. Very quickly, the sea race gathered their troops and sank into the sea. The hundreds of Teeth Whale clan warriors that Guang Yi had brought with him were almost completely wiped out, leaving only a few dozen injured soldiers. On the contrary, Uncle Ming and the other shrimp soldiers and crab generals were basically preserved. Yunxiao broke through the waves and soon returned to the top of Haitian town. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. They looked at him with some fear, not daring to make a sound. "Young Master Yun, how is it?" Liao Yongbing asked. "Don't you see?" Yunxiao laughed. "Hasn't it been solved?" Everyone's face was filled with black lines. After a huge battle, this was called resolved. "Deal with it," Baiming Lifeng snorted coldly. "You said that it was settled, but a group of even fiercer ones came. Now you're saying it's been resolved, but who knows what will happen after that. So, young Master Wind, do you think I didn't solve the problem thoroughly?" Yunxiao laughed. "Next time, I'll have to trouble young Master Wind to deal with it." Baiming Lifeng turned his head and snorted, "This is your business, what does it have to do with me?" Yunxiao's face turned cold as he said sarcastically, "You also know that it has nothing to do with you, so what are you blabbering about? You're so unreasonable. You're so rude, so rude." Baiming Lifeng was furious. If it wasn't for the fact that he was afraid of the other party's strength, he really wanted to go up and kill him. Liao Yangbing's face darkened, and he quickly said, "What's the situation now? Will they come again? Haitian town can't stand their repeated invasion." "Don't worry, City Lord Liao," Yunxiao said with a smile. "Although it hasn't been completely solved, it's almost done. The Eastern Sea's royal family promised me that they won't come back for 3 months, and I'll completely deal with them in 3 months." 3 months? You can only keep it for 3 months? Many of the big shots of Haitian town were in a panic again. Liao Yangbing's face was also gloomy. They only want that little girl. "Young Master Yun, won't everything be fine if you hand her over?" Yunxiao's face was filled with pain and regret as he sighed, "Have any of you seen that little girl these past few days?" When the Thunderwind Chamber of Commerce had caused trouble that day, the little girl had been sent flying by a martial honor of the 8 Desolation Realm with 1 punch. Hundreds of people had seen it. Can an ordinary little girl withstand a punch from a revered martial artist? What? Everyone's face turned green. Liao Yongbing said, Could it be that you're already dead, little girl?" This group of marine race members said that they want to see the person if he's alive and the corpse if he's dead. "Where's the corpse?" Yunxiao gave him a glare and said, "An ordinary 10-year-old girl was punched by a martial honor. Do you think there would still be a corpse?" This buy-in. Everyone felt dizzy. "Then how did you negotiate with the sea race?" Liao Yongbing asked doubtfully. "How are we going to reply to them in 3 months? I promised to find a little girl who looks about the same for them 3 months later," Yunxiao said. "I'll just go back and report to them." This works too. Everyone felt dizzy and thought it was a little ridiculous, but Yunxiao was the only one who knew the details of the matter, and no one could do anything about it if he did not say it. Liao Yongbing didn't believe it. He smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Yunxiao, Haitian town is the foundation of my life. You must not neglect it." "Don't worry, brother," Yunxiao said with a smile. "I'll get it done for you in 3 months." Since the matter had already come to this, there was no point in saying anything more. Everyone left with their own thoughts. Some of the big shots felt that things were not good and began to prepare to transfer some of their assets out for safety. After that, Yunxiao went into seclusion again. He asked Liao Yangbing for a large number of supreme-grade primordial stones without any hesitation, and the latter gave him more without hesitation. The sea was indeed calm. As a member of the royal family of Donghai, Guang Yi had to keep his word. As for whether he returned to the palace or continued to stay in the coastal waters, no one knew. Not long after, the people of the Baiming family went to the Red Moon City and waited for the immortal land to open. Liao Yongbing also had the intention to break into the immortal realm, but he was waiting for Yunxiao to come out of seclusion. Finally, 10 days later, Yunxiao came out of seclusion. He had absorbed an amazing amount of primordial qi, but he had only reached the mid-tier 8 stars martial venerable realm, which was still some distance away from the peak. Is there any news of Ling? Yunxiao asked. Han Xian took out 2 communication jade tokens and handed them to Yunxiao as she said, "Young Master Yun, you can take a look yourself." Yunxiao scanned it with his divine sense and immediately read the information inside, and his face changed slightly. Han Xuan's eyes flashed with a trace of worry as she said, "The 2 messages were sent only 2 days apart. Young Master Yun, you've already noticed the problem?" 2 days, huh? Yunxiao crushed the jade pendant in his hand, and his face darkened. The 2 jade tokens were sent from the headquarters of Tianyuan Trading Company. One of them said that there was no news of Ding Ling, while the other one was sent in Ding Ling's tone, saying that she was already in the headquarters of Tianyuan Trading Company and everything was fine, and that Yunxiao should not miss her. "It's a little strange, but it's indeed from Tianyuan Trading Company," said Han Xian. "It can be determined that little sister Ling must be in the headquarters of Tianyuan Trading Company at this moment." "Yes," Yunxiao continued. "But there seems to be something going on in the headquarters of Tianyuan Trading Company. If I'm not wrong, Ling has already lost her power in the Chamber of Commerce." "What?" Han Xian was shocked and said in horror, "Sister Ling is the president of Tianyuan Trading Company. She has been in control for many years and has a deep foundation. How can she suddenly lose her power? Who had such a great ability to bring her down? Could it be that Ding Peng is colluding with outsiders again?" Yunxiao's judgment made her panic. She was not only worried about her sister, but also worried about the future of the Purple Cloud Trading Company once Tianyuan Trading Company changed. Yunxiao sneered and thought to himself, "It seems that my guess about Tianyuan Trading Company is right. Ding Shan has been controlling the whole situation behind the scenes. Otherwise, how could Ding Ling, who did not even have a martial emperor by her side in the Merchant Union, which was occupied by tigers and wolves, have survived for so many years? Ding Shan, oh Ding Shan, you've been hiding your talents for so many years, but I didn't expect you to have such great ambitions." Yunxiao's eyes grew colder. A man who could endure for so many years must have extraordinary ambition and ability. He looked at the worried Han Xian and comforted her, "Don't worry. Ling will be fine for the time being, and Tianyuan Trading Company will continue to operate as usual for a short time." "How do you know?" Han Xian quickly asked. "I can't tell you the details for the time being," Yunxiao said. "In short, Ling." "I'm relieved to hear that, young Master Yun," Han Xian said, slightly relieved. She seemed to have a blind trust in Yunxiao, and she had no doubt about him, whether in terms of strength or words. "Although there are no requirements for the people who enter, it's extremely dangerous inside," Yunxiao said. "With Han Xuan's strength, she'd better not go in." Han Xuan's face blushed slightly, and she chuckled, "Han Xian is a merchant, and she only learned martial arts to protect herself. I naturally won't go to the eastern region Fairyland." She had already told Jiang Qianrong everything and planned to go to Red Moon City with Yunxiao. But now, she felt a little sour in her heart, and she forced a smile and said, "And I just happen to have some things to deal with, so I'm afraid I can't accompany young Master Yun to the Red Moon City." "It's fine." Yunxiao nodded. "I've disturbed Han Xian for so long, and it's time to take my leave." A moment later, 2 figures flew out of Haitian town and headed for the teleportation island. They were Yunxiao and Liao Yangbing. Not long after they stepped onto the teleportation island, the array was activated, and the 2 of them arrived in Red Moon City.